Sometimes desire arrives before understanding. It moves faster than thought, settling quietly inside the heart before the mind has time to resist. Emily Carter did not notice the moment it began. She only felt the change afterward. Like the air shifting before a storm, Emily lived alone in a calm coastal town in Maine, where the ocean smelled of salt and mornings felt slow and honest. Her life followed a steady rhythm. She woke early, made her coffee the same way each day, and walked to the small public library where she worked. The building was old but warm, filled with wooden shelves, soft lamps, and the quiet comfort of stories that had already been lived by others. Emily liked that kind of silence. It made her feel safe. She believed in rules not because she was afraid to break them, but because they gave life structure. She believed morals were something you carried inside, something that guided you when no one else was watching. She had learned that growing up in a careful household, where feelings were respected but never allowed to run free. On a gray autumn morning, rain falling gently against the streets, Daniel Brooks walked into the library. He didn't rush. He shook the rain from his coat near the door and looked around as if taking in the place, rather than searching for something specific. Emily noticed him only because he seemed calm in a way that stood out. When he approached the desk, he smiled politely and asked for help finding a book about local history. His voice was quiet, steady, and kind. Emily guided him through the shelves, pointing out sections and explaining the layout. Their conversation was short and simple. When he thanked her and walked away, she thought nothing of it. People came and went every day. But Daniel came back. He returned the next afternoon and then again 2 days later. Sometimes he borrowed books. Sometimes he sat by the large window at the back, reading slowly while the rain or sunlight moved across the floor. Over time, brief greetings turned into short conversations. They talked about books at first, then about places they had lived, and eventually about thoughts that were harder to explain. Daniel was from Vancouver, Canada. He was in Maine for work, helping with a long-term project related to historical preservation. He spoke about his city with warmth, but there was a quiet distance in his tone, like someone used to moving from place to place. He listened carefully when Emily spoke, never interrupting, never rushing her words. Emily began to look forward to seeing him, though she told herself it was normal. Libraries were social places in their own way. Talking did not mean attachment. Still, something about Daniel stayed with her after he left. She found herself thinking about things he had said, replaying small moments that should not have mattered. She noticed the way he respected silence. He didn't fill every pause with noise. He let moments breathe. That made Emily feel seen, not pressured to perform or impress. It was a rare feeling at home. Emily questioned herself. She reminded herself of her values, of the careful life she had built. She told herself attraction was natural but temporary. Feelings passed if you didn't feed them. That belief had always helped her before, but this time felt different. The days moved faster. Autumn deepened. Leaves changed color and the air grew sharper. Daniel's visits became part of Emily's routine, even though she tried not to admit it. She noticed when he didn't come in, and those days felt longer. One evening, as the library was closing early due to a storm, Daniel stayed behind to return a book. The building was quiet, the lights dimmer than usual. Rain pressed against the windows, and the sound filled the space between them. "I may not be here much longer," Daniel said softly. As if unsure whether to speak at all, Emily looked up, surprised. Her heart reacted before her face did. She kept her expression calm. "Oh," she said. "I didn't know." He nodded. "My work wraps up soon." He stood there for a moment, neither of them moving. The air felt heavier, full of things not said. Daniel smiled gently. "I just wanted to say, these conversations have meant a lot to me." Emily wanted to answer honestly. She wanted to say the same. Instead, she nodded again, holding her words tightly inside. She watched as he put on his coat and walked out into the rain. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, listening to the wind outside, replaying his words. She felt something close to fear, not of Daniel, but of herself. She had always believed control was strength. Now she wondered if ignoring feelings was the same as controlling them. Days passed and Daniel did not return. Emily told herself it was expected. He had said he was leaving soon. Still, his absence felt loud. The library felt quieter than usual. She moved through her routines, but they felt thin, like habits without meaning. When Daniel finally came back, it was unexpected. He looked tired, more serious than before. Their conversation was brief but intense, filled with unspoken emotion. Emily realized then that he felt the same pull she did. That understanding scared her more than anything else. She knew she stood at the edge of something important. Not an action, but a decision. Desire had shown itself clearly. What mattered now was how she responded to it. And as she watched Daniel leave that day, Emily understood one truth with painful clarity. Wanting something did not make her wrong. But choosing wisely would define who she was. The quiet pull remained, waiting for what came next. Desire does not wait for permission. It grows quietly until it can no longer be ignored. Emily Carter realized this in the weeks after Daniel Brooks left town. Her life, once calm and predictable, now carried a constant echo of him. She tried to fill her days with work, organizing books and helping library visitors. But her thoughts returned to him no matter how hard she tried to focus. She remembered the way he had smiled, the gentle way he listened, and the quiet intensity in his eyes. These memories were not fleeting. They lingered, pressing against the walls of her mind like sunlight through a window she could not close. Every time she reached for a book or walked past the window where he had once sat, her heart skipped unexpectedly. She told herself it was foolish to feel so strongly for someone she could not be with, someone whose presence was temporary. But feelings are not logical, and hers had grown too powerful to dismiss. One afternoon, as the library was unusually empty, Emily noticed a shadow at the door. Her heart recognized it before her mind could fully process. Daniel stood there, soaked slightly from the drizzle outside, with a quiet intensity she could not ignore. Seeing him made the world feel both smaller and larger at once. Smaller because everything else faded. Larger because her emotions expanded to fill the room. "Emily," he said softly. Hesitating for a moment, "I didn't think I'd see you again so soon." She smiled, unsure if she was happy or anxious. I didn't expect it either," she admitted. The air between them was charged with unspoken words, a tension that neither could easily name. It was not just attraction. It was understanding, recognition. A deep pull that had grown over weeks of absence. Daniel looked down at the book in his hands and then back at her. "I leave next week," he said quietly, "and I needed to see you before that." Her heart caught in her chest. The words were simple, but their weight was heavy. She realized in that instant that he felt the same conflict she did, a desire for connection that defied reason, and a respect for boundaries that neither wanted to cross. Emily felt her voice shake slightly as she responded. "I can't pretend I feel nothing," she said honestly, "but I also can't betray who I am." Daniel's eyes softened. He took a slow step closer, careful, respectful, giving her space while letting her feel his presence. "I never wanted you to," he replied. "I only wanted you to know I feel the same." They stood there for a long moment, close enough to feel the warmth of each other's presence, yet far enough apart to honor the lines they had drawn. In that silence, they shared everything they could not say aloud: longing, respect, fear, hope. It was a connection that did not need words, because the understanding was complete in its quiet intensity. Emily realized that desire was not a call to act recklessly. It was a mirror, showing her what she truly valued. She valued honesty, respect, and integrity. She valued herself and the person she wanted to be. But she also valued emotion, the messy, controllable part of being human that told her when something mattered deeply as the week progressed. Emily and Daniel found small moments together. They walked along the quiet streets near the coast under soft clouds and fading sunlight. They spoke about hopes and fears, about places they dreamed of visiting, about lives they had lived and lives they imagined. Each conversation deepened the bond between them, though neither crossed the boundaries they had agreed upon. It was a delicate dance of proximity and restraint, a shared understanding that some desires are meant to be felt, not acted upon. One evening, as the sky turned orange with the setting sun, Daniel turned to Emily with a seriousness that made her heart ache. "I don't know if I'll ever see you again after this," he said. His voice carried the weight of certainty and the softness of vulnerability at the same time. Emily swallowed hard. "And if we do, what then?" she asked. He smiled faintly, a mix of hope and sadness. "Then we carry this memory. We carry what we've learned about ourselves. We don't need to act on everything we feel to honor it." The truth of his words resonated deeply within her. Desire was not a mistake. Feeling deeply was not a weakness. It was a sign of life, of connection, of humanity. But what mattered most was how she chose to live with that feeling. Acting recklessly could destroy the fragile balance of morals and self-respect she had built. Choosing wisely could transform it into strength and understanding. The day Daniel left town arrived quietly. Emily watched him from the library doorway, rain falling softly around them. They exchanged a long, lingering look, full of emotion and understanding. No promises were made. No vows were exchanged. Only the truth that they had felt deeply, honestly, and respectfully. When Daniel walked away, Emily felt a strange combination of pain and clarity. She grieved what could not be. But she also felt proud of herself for navigating the intensity of desire without losing herself. That night she reflected on everything she had experienced. She understood that feelings are not failures and desires are not inherently wrong. They are part of the human experience, a guide to what we care about most. Weeks turned into months, and life slowly returned to its familiar rhythm. Emily continued her work at the library, organized shelves, and greeted visitors with her usual calm warmth. Yet the memory of Daniel and the lessons he had taught her about desire, morality, and self-respect remained. It was no longer a source of longing or pain, but a quiet, steady presence in her heart. She realized that love and desire are not always meant to be lived fully. Sometimes they are meant to be acknowledged, felt deeply, and then honored through restraint. Morals do not cancel feelings. They shape them, allowing us to experience life without losing ourselves. Emily became more compassionate with herself. She learned to recognize desire as a signal of life, emotion, and human depth. And she understood that even when desire was uncontrollable, it did not need to lead to regret. The real lesson was in choosing how to respond, in balancing heart and mind. Feeling deeply without compromising her values, the quiet pull that had begun in part one was still there. A gentle reminder of the human heart's complexity. But Emily no longer feared it. She had faced it honestly, with respect for herself and for the other person, and had emerged stronger and wiser. She knew now that desire is not something to be ashamed of. It is a part of living fully, a teacher guiding her toward understanding, empathy, and emotional courage. And though Daniel was gone, the experience left her richer, aware of her own capacity for feeling, capable of honoring her values while embracing her humanity. She had learned that sometimes the most profound connections are not the ones that last forever, but the ones that shape us quietly and deeply, making life more meaningful, more honest, and infinitely more human.